So here we are in the last episode of this weight loss journey series. We're going to go over the big three, that being squat, deadlift, and bench. Probably not in that order. You'll have to see, I'll have to see. But before we do that, we gotta make coffee, of course. Pretty good. So as mentioned earlier, we're going to go over the previously mentioned big three of weightlifting, that being deadlifting, squats, and bench. These are going to be the three most popular movements in exercise, weightlifting, etc. Most people know what they are. Some people don't know how to perform them, and even some people don't even know what the heck they are. All the information we are getting today is coming from the NSCA, the National Strength Conditioning Association. And of course, the textbook we are pulling from is The Essentials of Strength Training and Conditioning. If you've been in college, or if you are taking the CSCS, or if you're just in some type of exercise science, health science major, you've probably seen this book, you probably have it. You can find it easily for like $50 on eBay, Amazon, etc. So we're pulling from here today. Starting off, we're going to go with the deadlift. So personally, the deadlift for me is my favorite movement. As many of you probably already know, deadlifting is also the more complicated out of the three movements. There is more room for injury there, but as long as you know what you're doing, you should be completely fine. So remember progression. Don't go slap 315 on the bar if you've never done it. Looking at this first clip, you can see I'm just clearly warming up with just a simple 10 pounds on each side of the bar, just going up and down, getting a feel for the movement, warming up my legs. I usually go up to 45s on each side of the bar after my first warm-up set. My girlfriend was doing RDLs at the time. We'll also cover those later in this video. But I decided to go with those leg first warm up a little bit more, and then we put 225 on the bar, and that was my first like heavy warm up before we got into the heavier sets. So this was my top set. So let's go over form here. So you can see that my feet are flat on the ground and they're placed between my hip and shoulder. I could have went a little wider. This width between my feet is the most comfortable for me. Just make sure you're doing it with correct form, keeping your back in a neutral position. Make sure you're not bending your lower back, making sure your head is up, not looking down. Your eyes can go a little bit down in front of you, but make sure you're not looking straight down at your feet. The textbook from NSCA says that you should use a pronated grip. Here it's really up to preference. I feel like I'm able to pull a little bit more weight if I do an alternating grip, but if you do an alternating grip like I do, you definitely want to switch which one is your underhand, which one is supinated between the weeks. So in this video you can see that my right hand is supinated, but just to help with evening out imbalances, next week I'll do my left hand supinated. And once I get down, my hands are just a little bit wider than shoulder width, and then I go up. Looking at the front here, you want to make sure that your chest is being held up high, making sure that my spine stays neutral. I will say in the downward motion that I'm letting the bar go down to the ground a little too fast here. So when you're going up, you're lifting the bar off of the floor, and you're doing this by extending the hips and the knees at the same time. Make sure that the bar is being held as close as possible to your shins, almost like they're rubbing up against them. Also, you can have your knees bent slightly going down during your deadlift and going up. Just make sure that they straighten out by the time you get to the top. The RDL is very similar to the conventional deadlift, except that it is not hitting the floor. You start in the top position and then you slowly lower the bar down to the ground, making sure that you extend the hips back and are flexing the knees. So you can keep the knees slightly also bent, and just making sure that you're clenching your glutes when you come back up to the top. Moving over to squats, let's go over how to correctly perform these. So for the longest time, I didn't know how to perform squats. So you want to walk the bar out and then making sure your feet are shoulder width apart. Make sure that you're holding your chest up and out, and then your head is upright. If you want your feet out a little wider, you can. This sometimes helps with knee pain, sometimes doesn't. It's really a case-by-case basis. But I have found with some people that it does help. When you're going down, just make sure your hips and knees are flexing, and make sure that your torso is still upright. And then also, of course, keep your feet on the ground. That includes your heels. Make sure that your glutes are getting parallel to your knees. You can see that I struggle a little bit here with my heels coming up just slightly, and that could be fixed with just some more mind muscle connection. When you come up, just make sure you're having neutral spine, just as with any exercise. Keep extending your knees and your hips until you get back to your starting position. Last and final exercise, here we go. It is the bench press. It used to be my favorite movement. That was before I started lifting real weights, and I hate it because it is the least amount of weight I can move. Starting position on the bench, you're going to lay back. You can form an arch if you wish to. Place your eyes right below the bar, and then you're going to grasp the bar with a pronated grip, lift it off of the rack, and then just making sure that the bar is right over the chest when the elbows are fully extended. When you're lowering the bar, just make sure it's touching right at the end of your pecs, about at your nipple level or lower sternum level. Make sure that you're keeping your wrists firm. Just make sure that your butt stays on the bench, your feet stay on the ground, while also your head and upper back are also against the bench. I find that helps me not cheat on the movement when I let it sit on my chest for a second or two, so I'd recommend that if you want to get the full benefit of it. This is also what they do in powerlifting competitions. I see that most people in the gym just let it bounce off really quick. They use that momentum of it coming down and hitting them. I used to do this. I still do it sometimes when I'm really wanting to push heavy weight. But if I'm doing lower weight like I am in these clips, I'm definitely going to let it sit on me for a second or two. But after it touches your chest, just push the bar upward and then fully extend the elbows so you get back into your starting position. When you're pushing the bar off of your chest, just make sure that you aren't moving your back up or your butt up to help get it up to the rack. If you're doing that, it's too heavy, so of course, please lower the weight to something you can do. If you can only do the bar, that's perfectly okay. We all have to begin somewhere. These three movements are important and should be at the center of any weightlifting program, as long as you feel comfortable doing all of them. There are also alternatives to these exercises, as with the deadlift, there's RDLs, there's stiff leg deadlifts, single leg deadlifts. With bench, there's dumbbell bench presses, incline, decline, etc. And with squats, you can always do a leg press, hack squat, a goblet squat. So it's really all personal preference. If you really want to have hypertrophy and strength building, I would totally recommend these three in your exercise program. If you're looking for an exercise program to be written for you, reach out. I can give you some resources, or if you want me to write you one, I can definitely do that. We can discuss that. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I hope you did. Next week, I'm moving back into school, so there will be more kind of vlogish type videos coming. I hope you had fun spending your time here. My camera is running out of battery and space, but anyways, have a great day. Catch you in the next one. Don't be friends.